So there was a right-leaning influencer who made a viral video about tradwives, and we need to talk about it. So welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. Thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and let's get into today's video. So let's listen to Emily's video.
Bro, watching liberal...
Not this one.
I'm sorry, I hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this like tradwife bullshit. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stopping working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day, slim to none. I would say none that's going to work out for you, or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure because it could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man. Okay? Also, let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just like, please, you guys are too young to be promoting this. And also, by the way, it's cringe. You guys are cringe, okay?
Okay. So I'm going to say this a lot nicer than Emily Wilson, okay? I'm going to tell you guys what I think she meant to say, okay? Or what I think she thinks that she said, okay? If you're a woman, I would suggest going to school before you get married, because not everybody's going to be married right out of high school. And even if you do get married young, I would suggest still going to school for something like childcare. You know, going to school for child and youth worker was one of the best things I ever did. I learned normal development. Now, I don't know how colleges are acting these days, but for the most part, I would suggest to women to go to school, especially because, you know, even though Emily says in the Xavier podcast that baking bread isn't hard, there are people who go to school for culinary, like baking and cooking and all of those different things, horticulture. Yeah. So I think the thought of living with a backup plan constantly is the weirdest thing in the world, because I am one of these rare people who my husband has stayed home with the kids while I worked. I was the one with the pension. The government shut down everything. My husband stayed home with our children, okay? It just happens sometimes. And I don't know, what is she talking about? Does she think that she's going to be like 6 weeks postpartum and wanting to get up and go around and work? Like, I don't even understand in this entire scenario is, do you guys consider stay-at-home mom like the first year of maternity leave? Because I know in America they don't have maternity leave. So I don't know what this person thinks a stay-at-home mom does, but it's really hard. It's really hard. And, you know, I think that a lot of women, if they want to work, all the power to them. Some people are better moms because they work and they're on a schedule and they get time away from their kids and that's what they need. And that's great, okay? But let's not pretend like we haven't been living in a society for the last 15, I would say 20 years that has said, consistently given the message that if you get married and have kids, you are giving up. Let's not pretend we haven't not lived in that. You know, I was pregnant young. Okay, I was a single mom, like I've said. I still knew that I went to school to work in the schools, okay, to work with kids, to work in the schools so that I could have the summers off and weekends off and holidays off with my children. So I knew right away that I wanted to do this, okay? And here's the thing is that I had mastered going to school. I had my child. We got our house. I had my dream job. And around 2018, I thought, what more can I learn? What more is there out there to learn? And that's when I discovered homemaking, because trad wives has not been a thing, okay? People don't call themselves trad wives for the most part. I used to say college educated trad wife because I used to get messages from people on the right telling me that women shouldn't talk, all of these different things, and I still do. And then I get people on the left calling me a trad wife, saying that I'm promoting white ideals and all of these different things. And I need everybody to think about English media for a minute, okay? If a woman is online, showing herself online, cooking online, if she's not an Amish woman, she's probably not actually traditional. And there are women every single day that post these unrealistic expectations of their lives, okay? And it really seems like in the last few years, the only ones that get attacked for doing so are women who stay home with their children. You are not worthless if you stay home with your children. These are things that I have heard, okay? You are not useless to the world, okay? These are things that I've heard from so-called feminists. Yes, the gap in your resume will matter, but there are places that will hire you, you know? I don't mean to be rude. There's people who hire people right outside of high school, okay? You will find a job, you will get experience, and most stay-at-home moms I know are, you know, chefs, bakers, management, party organizers, like all of these different things, horticulture experts, stay-at-home moms, you know, child psychologists, all of these different things that, you know, you become when you become a mom. Like, being a mom is intellectually stimulating. I don't know why she thinks that moms don't have intellectually stimulating conversations with their husbands, because some of the most best conversations that I've ever had with my husband are talking about what we're going to do as parents. Instead of berating women, why don't you guys try to be nicer on both sides of people who say these sorts of things? You know, Emily Wilson, who says that she's on the right, or all of the so-called feminists on the left. Why aren't you providing resources? Hey, if you're in a relationship and it is abusive, no matter what you're doing, a stay-at-home mom, and that will happen, by the way, because that can happen, okay? Or if you're abused and you have a job, because that also can happen, please remember to contact your local domestic violence shelters, because they will have resources for you, okay? I just wanted to put that out there, because for some reason in all of these videos, I don't see anybody giving resources. I just see people I see women calling other women stupid and not providing a single resource. Like, you're not being helpful in the slightest. Telling women that, you know, they better have a hobby if they plan on staying home, and they better make money. I'm going to say this, until my children were all school age, all going to school, that's when I discovered more about myself than I ever have, because I had spare time to do so. I have actually never felt so, you know, besides being in school and having all this trauma from being in school, it's a very traumatic thing to go through. And I'm not kidding. When you're a counselor and the things that you learn, it's insane. But I've never learned more life skills, more intricate things than I have. I've never been more politically aware. I've never learned more about our politics more than when I was a stay-at-home mom, and I've never been able to use my voice more than when I was a stay-at-home mom, because what's my husband going to do? Fire me? Now, here's the thing. If my husband came home one day and said, I'm leaving you, I found someone else, I love them, that I don't talk about my relationships online. I don't act like I'm in a perfect marriage or anything, because I would never want that to happen and then me have to come and say something like that, because we know that that's reality, but I don't live there. I'm not like, oh my God, what if my husband's cheating on me? Oh my gosh. I would pick myself up and I'd go get a job. That's what I would do. And that's what every stay-at-home mom that I knew that was approached and asked for a divorce ended up doing. And it was easy, because women are very perfectly capable of picking themselves up and going and doing something else. This was also never called tradwives before. We were all just homemakers. People who wanted to talk about homemaking. And at the time, it didn't even feel like countercultural. It felt like maybe something like book talk. And now it's all of a sudden this controversial thing where women are sharing, you know, their stay-at-home mom tips, because not everybody wants to be rich. Not everybody cares about having a boat. Not everybody cares about going on extravagant vacations. And before all of this nonsense of living in Canada and everything costing so much, you could just go and have fun and take your kids on affordable vacations, and you didn't have to be an elitist to do so. So, you know, just to the feminists out there and to everybody who talks about this situation, you guys talk so rudely about women who used to say are being domestically abused. You need to think about what you say before you put it on the internet.
You're saying?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like, it's bad.
Jesus. All right, we're moving on.
Yeah, let's
from
go.
that.
Okay, could we stop using terms like
No.
wrestler?
No, freeze.
So Emily Wilson fights to use the R word, but thinks it's wrong for women to promote a traditional lifestyle online. Listen, we all need a little bit more social media, English media, okay? Because I really need you guys to understand something. Nobody looks like an Nara Smith when they're baking. If someone is baking, unless they look like me, like absolute garbage when I used to do my cooking videos, because I used to set it on the counter up at my face. So unless they're making videos like that, I promise you, they're setting up, they're getting ready. Even I get ready for these videos, believe it or not, before, okay? Because that's just what content creation is. And I want you guys to all understand something too, that you're probably not a traditional wife or a trad wife if you're online and you have a platform. I could go 10 minutes down the road to the Amish community and that would be your traditional living, okay? There are women on these apps who promote a fan, okay? You know, a fan and one fan, you know what I mean? And promote these influencer, like the Bop House. And you guys want me to be worried about someone who is promoting traditional living? First of all, if you're feminist, you want women to do whatever the hell they want to do. If they want to make content about anything they want, that's what they can make content about. Secondly, we need to be teaching our children, hey, this isn't real life. Nothing you see, and I had to do this early on because my child had this really wild expectation upon life because she used to watch family vlogging because I used to think it was innocent and whatever. And then I realized that it was such an unrealistic expectation. I had to teach her right from young that no, we can't have a yes day where you get to go to Disneyland and say and do whatever it is that you want to do. No, that's not real life. We need to be teaching our children, if we want freedom, we need to be teaching our children how to decipher, okay, there are people that are going to be promoting this sort of lifestyle. These are the consequences that come from that. We need to be teaching our children how to think about things, as in like, look at all of the different options when you're picking a career path. You know, if you're a stay-at-home mom, what are the pros and cons? If you're a working mom, what are the pros and cons? Those are things that you need to be teaching your children. Not people shouldn't be able to promote this lifestyle because it's unrealistic and stupid, and women who stay home are not intellectually stimulating, which is a wild thing to say, by the way. And she's like, I don't know why everyone's mad, because you advocate for free speech and then you don't want women to promote their lifestyles. And by the way, which once again, if you're online promoting a traditional life, making money online, being online, showing your face online, doing anything online is not traditional in the slightest. And I don't know who these people are, because I also would like to point out that one of the most prominent right-leaning voices was an anonymous podcast, Patriarchy Hannah, and it ended up being a leftist. Yeah, it ended up being a leftist. Why? Because the left wants to be able to point to these examples of far-rightism and, say, look what they're promoting. Look what they're saying. This is what the stuff that they're saying. It's so misogynistic. Yeah, exactly. All of this is just so silly to me, because we should, have enough. Like, I used to listen to homemaking podcasts before all of this was anything other than like a book talk niche, okay? And you just take what you want and you leave the rest. Like Mrs. Midwest used to be like, you need to dress up for your husband every time he comes home. You need to look nice. No, you know what works? When I take my bath before my husband comes home. Sometimes I look like this when my husband comes home, but for the most part, and I still, what did I take from that? Well, what I took from her video was that I want to look cute. I always, like, even in my comfy clothes, I look cute. I feel good. I look cute. Whatever. Okay. I didn't look at myself and be like, I need to have this unrealistic expectation and I need to look good for my husband all the time. No, I took what I wanted and I left the rest, because women can do that. Oh my goodness. That's what I think offends me the most is that, first of all, I'm only in this position because I was forced to take something, and all the feminists told me that and not that I took it because of the feminists, not in the slightest. I'm saying what the feminists were saying online, okay? And now I mysteriously have been sick since then, and I can no longer work. And I take great offense to the amount of people who say that I will never go anywhere in life because I'm home right now. And I'm just literally like, what? What? There's been times where my husband has sprained he dirt bikes. So there's been times where I've had to take care of my husband and my husband's had to take care of me. That is what a good relationship is. And if we are teaching our children what good relationships look like, they can better recognize when a bad relationship is in front of them. We need to be spending more time with our kids. If there's anything that I've learned, it's how little I was actually spending time with my children before I was staying home with them. And you know what pushed me into this? When I was locked in my home and I realized how much I loved spending time with my children. You want to know why there's a wave of women wanting to stay home? Because they all got a taste of it in 2020. And, we could go without the isolation and everything being closed and, ruining our lives. But I think a lot of us women realized how much we loved staying home with our kids, okay? Even I, who worked in the schools with kids with special needs. But a lot of the time I did get to stay home and do online schooling, and I loved it. And I fell in love with staying home with my kids, and I've even homeschooled them for a bit, but then I realized we don't have a homeschool group up here and they need to be socialized. I need a bit of a break. I need to be able to clean my house and think about things. But yeah, I just don't understand all of this feminism and shaming within that, because there's no point. They cheer on the most horrendous things that women can do and call it progress. And they have legitimately said things like, people promoting this lifestyle online are setting people back, or people who choose to stay home and be stay-at-home moms are setting women back. No, we are not. Overall, if you want women to have freedom, let them have freedom. I don't think we need to look at I remember growing up, and it looked like giving up. Having kids is giving up. Blah, blah, blah. Giving up. Married. Giving up. No, my life had just begun. And if I have a good experience with parenthood, that's fine. Other people can have bad experiences with parenthood as well. Okay? I wouldn't personally go online and, traumatize my children. If I was having a bad time with parenting, I would go to therapy. Okay? As I've said before, I think the biggest mistake our parenting generation is doing is sharenting and raising kids on electronics, but I digress. Also, by the way, baking is hard, and it's science and it's math, okay? Honestly, you think, she says in Xavier's podcast, she's like, you think that you're special because you can follow a recipe? That's so easy. I would love to see you do it. I would love to see you do it, girl. Love it. Come on. Let's me and you go for a bake-off. I would actually love that. Emily Wilson, I challenge you to a bread making bake-off. I've only had a year. I've only been doing this a year. So whoever makes the most bread, since it's so freaking easy, let's go. And no tools either, because I'm not rich enough to have a mixer. So anyways, I would love to challenge her to a bread baking contest. But anyways, guys, those are my thoughts. It just gets so annoyed. As someone who has been a working mom, a mom who's gone to school with babies and toddlers, and I'm telling you, nothing has felt more rewarding than just being home with my kids. For a while there, I was like, you know what? I am putting a lot of effort into a job that I am abused at, because I was, and a lot of effort into other people's children. So I thought my favorite saying of all was, if you really want to change the world, go home and take care of your kids. And with that being said, it is 20:05 outside right now, and it's 11 o'clock, and I'm going to go garden. So you guys have an amazing day. And thank you so much for subscribing, liking, and commenting. Honestly and truly, it means the world to me. Thank you guys so much.